pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. You need a place where you can go and you can be still, where you can be quiet, and where you can remove the obstacles. Praying in here on a Sunday morning is great. I love corporate prayer, but there are a lot of things that distract us. If you're involved in any kind of church service and work, between that time right before Sunday school and that time right after Sunday school is when you get, I mean, there's a lot of church business that goes on. There's a lot of people talking about, oh, well, we need to meet on Tuesday night. Have you got something Tuesday night? And you could bring all of that stuff in here to church, and that stuff's going through your head, and then you got to meet and greet everybody, and you shake hands, and you sit down, and then you get up and you sing, and you talk about the prayer request, and then when it's time to pray, you close your eyes, and it's still, and it's quiet, and your mind all of a sudden starts catching up. Oh yeah, Sally asked me if I can. I better write that down. Maybe nobody will see me write. We all do it. We've all been there. I've done the same thing. Because there are so many distractions. So really, our modern worship services are not the best place. We really don't build a service that's designed for prayer, for intimate prayer with God. And if we're not doing that as a corporate church, and it's not just this church, it's every church I've ever been in. If we're not building that into our services, then that means we as Christians, as Christ followers, we have to build that into our lives somewhere. We need to have that secret place where we can go and we can just clear the mechanism, get out all the junk in our head, and just spend some time focusing in on God for two reasons. One, to communicate what we want, what's on our heart, but also to allow Him to communicate to us. As I was preparing for this, I was actually reading. I read an essay on prayer life, and afterwards there was, it was on the internet, and there was these forums afterwards where people were responding, and this guy had written in, and he said, I've tried to pray more and more, and I find myself not having anything to pray for, to keep from having vain prayers over and over and over. And he said, at first I was guilty about this, not having anything to pray for, and then I realized, oh, that's the time when I can actually listen to God. I think about it, when I come in the afternoons from work, the kids come up, and it's, Daddy, we need this, and we need this, and this, and it's just, there's this barrage of, we got to get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And then after it's out, and I do the same thing, well, today at work, there was this, and this, and this, and this, and when after all that's done, then there's a, and we can talk and communicate back and forth. We got it off our chest, and now we can communicate. And our prayer life, as we get into that secret place, and we get it off of our chest, and we get it out. Now, if we built in just enough time to get it out, then we don't have any time to allow God to come back to us with that. So we have to build in the time to get to the point where we've prayed out our part, and then allow God to communicate to us. So we've got to be sincere, we've got to be secretive about it, not bragging about it, not being boastful about it. And we need to be specific. Look at verses 7 and 8. And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard for their many words. Do not be like them. For your Father, now get this, guys, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. God already knows what you need. If you go in there and you're asking for generalities, there's an earthquake in Haiti, I need to be praying for that. And then, Sally down the street has did a wreck, I need to pray for that. And if you're praying for all of those things, and the primary burden on your heart is, somebody has just ticked me off, and I can't get that off, and I can't let it go, and it's just, there's this grudge gnawing at my heart, tearing at me. If that's the first thing that's on your heart, you need to go on and get that out. Get it handled. Because what happens is in your mind, you're praying for what you know you need to be. You're disciplined enough to pray for that. But your heart is full of anger and bitterness. And it's breaking up that intimate fellowship with God. Because while your mind is focusing on one thing, your heart, your spirit is focusing on that thing that's bothering you. Go on and get it out of there. Your prayer time shouldn't be a time of just obedience, just pure out obedience. You know what? If your prayer is just as a matter of discipline, a spiritual discipline, that's going to be a really sorry prayer life. It shouldn't come out of just a desire to be disciplined. It should come out of a desire to want to be close to God. If you think about it, if you take a military analogy, if I'm a soldier and or if I'm a colonel and I've got soldiers working for me, and they do my commands only because I've asked them to, they're going to do just exactly what I've asked them to do, and that's it. But if these guys are doing what I've asked them to because they believe in the mission, they believe in what we're doing, and they believe it's the right thing, they're going to go to the point where I ask them to go, and then they're going to go beyond and do more because they believe in it. Your prayer life should be the same way. You should believe in prayer so much so that you don't just pray because God said, you shall pray, or Jesus said, you shall pray this way. Your prayer life should be such, your desire to be intimate with God, to hear from Him should be so much so that you go to that point and you go beyond. You go that extra mile and you hold out and you just get intimate with God. You allow Him to come into your life. And when you do that, you can be very specific. You can be very open to Him. Tell Him what's really on your heart. He wants to hear that. The truth is, He already knows it. He knows what's in there. Don't build up this wall that says, I can't be real with God. I can't be open with God. God wants you to be real, to be open with Him. If you've got a question, you just don't understand it, you just get down there and call the earth and go, God, what is this? I don't get it. I can tell you from personal experience, I did that. I knew what I was supposed to do. I was doing this, We were walking, following God, and God stripped away every single thing I clung to. Every single thing I clung to. And I went out in the middle of a field, my mother-in-law's field, on a Sunday night because I was too ticked off with God to go to church. We moved down here to go help out at that church. That's the whole reason we moved down here, was to go help out at that church. And I was just sick of it. I told my wife, I said, y'all go on, I'm done with it. Seriously. And I went out, and I was just angry. And I knew everybody else was gone. Everybody on the hill was gone except for my father-in-law, and he couldn't hear me anyway. So I went out in that field, and I screamed, and I hollered, and I yelled at God. And I got to the point where I was down on my knees, clawing the earth under a moonlit night, just God. And I got to the point where I was real with God. My question all along was, what in the world are you doing, God? And why are you doing it? But I wouldn't ask God, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? I'd ask God to help me deal with it. I'd ask God to show me direction. I'd ask for God to give me vision and help my family and provide for us and help me have sales at work. And I'd ask Him to help me, but I never asked Him what was really the burning question in my heart. God, why are you doing this? And what are you doing? I don't get it. And He stripped away everything else until I had to ask that question because I didn't have anything else to ask Him. And like that, I was destroyed, and I was recreated, and He built me up to where I needed to be. And out of that experience came my calling, His calling on my life, came all kinds of new direction. Those problems I had before that night, they didn't solve magically. There was still a lot of work to be done. But God got me where He wanted me in my prayer walk, and in my prayer life, and in my life of obedience to Him, and intimate fellowship with Him. And it came through an act of prayer. Because I had to get sincere and specific with Him. So that prepares you for the prayer. And let's look real quick how to pray. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this is a whole study. We could go weeks on this, but I want you to look at some aspects. This prayer, notice that Jesus says here, this pray then like this, or this is how to pray. He doesn't say this is what to pray. This is how to pray. Look at the first second, what He says. Well, the first thing that happens.